Hello again. Now, I got this guitar not that long ago. It's a Fender Standard Stratocaster, one of the Made in Mexico series, and I really like it. It's a really nice guitar, plays well, it's got a good sound, nice comfortable neck, and to be honest, for the money I think it's an excellent value piece of kit. A couple of slight niggles with it though, as you might have seen in an earlier video. Just to make sure I could get the action quite right, I needed to put a little shim in the neck just to change the angle of the neck ever so slightly. Not a difficult thing to do. And the other thing that's been bothering me is the tuning stability. I've noticed on the top two strings has been a little bit iffy. Every now and again I can hear a slight like ting or little dink noise, like something's been catching and then being released. I think I've got to the bottom of what's causing that. I'm going to show you what that was and how to fix it. So let's take the guitar and get it on the workbench and I'll show you what I mean. Right, now I noticed that when I was depressing the trem, I was getting a little bit of a ping or a dink sort of noise, and I thought it's either going to be coming from here, the nut, or it's going to be coming here from the string tree. It's definitely on one of the top strings. Now I know that the nut here is cut in the factory for a set of 9 to 42 gauge strings, which is what I'm using, so it was less likely that it was going to be the strings catching in the nut. You know, if I'd gone up, say from a set of 9 to 42s up to a set of 10s or 11s, those strings are going to be bigger, so there's a chance that the strings are going to catch slightly in the nut. But as I was using the same sort of spec strings as come from the factory, I thought that was unlikely. Also, as a matter of course, anytime I change strings on a guitar with a nut like this, with a regular nut, I always put a little bit of graphite off of a soft pencil into the nut slots just to give it a bit of lubrication and help the string move freely. So, just listening carefully, the sound did seem to be coming from here, and I think the culprit here is the string tree. As you can see, it's set quite low. It gives you good break angle over the nut, but I think what's happening is the strings are just catching ever so slightly as they go through here. It's not much, it's maybe a quarter of a semitone, possibly, that it's knocking the strings out of tune, but it's something I do want to rectify. That's pretty easy to do. So what I've done, shopping, and got hold of Fender. So these are roller string trees. They come in pairs, which is a bit of a shame because I only actually need one for this repair. What I'm going to do is replace the string tree on here with one of these roller style, which is as fitted to the American Stratocasters. Less friction. I think it's actually going to be a little bit higher up, so there'll be less severe break angle, probably still enough to get the break across the nut, but not so much that it's going to give me that extra friction. So first thing we need to do is to take the tension off of these top two strings, because we're going to release the nut and we don't want it pinging up in the air. So just start off, just take the tension off those strings. If I was doing all 6, I'd probably use a string winder, but for what we're doing here, just using my hands is enough. Okay, so the tension's off those strings now. So what I can do is just pop those out from underneath the string tree. And with a small, this is just a number one Phillips screwdriver, just undo the screw there. And by the way, as always, if you're working on a hard work surface, put something down, an old mat or a blanket or something, just to protect the finish on the back of the guitar from being scratched off the worktop. You know, particularly as well if you're doing it on your good dining room table or something as well, it protects the table from being scratched off the screws or anything on the back of the guitar. Okay, so take the old string tray off, and this is quite an easy repair to do in theory, because there's already a hole drilled for the new string tray to go into. However, having looked at these just in the packet, I do foresee a problem. So let's get them out and I'll show you what I think that problem is going to be. Okay, so on the face of it, this is good because the screw is pretty much the same size as the one that the existing string tray came with. However, I don't know if you can see it on here, there's a slight little protrusion out the bottom of the string tray. Now I understand why that's there. It's to help, just to stop it spinning around, because it'll be fixed by one point here with the screw, and this will be stuck into the guitar, so it won't be able to spin around. However, I think that's going to be a problem because I've only got one hole here, so I'm going to have to drill another hole in the headstock just to accommodate that. So what I'll do is I'll just get this into place and mark where that hole needs to be. Okay, so we'll take the string tray with the screw in it, put that screw into the existing screw hole, and just tighten it up, making sure that it's nice and straight, and using the existing strings as the guide, so we'll actually push those down with the string tray. Now as I'm tightening that, it's starting to skew around slightly, so I need to keep that straight, and I'm hoping that as I screw this down it'll actually mark where I need that other hole to go. So I'll just take that off again. Yeah, it's done what I hoped it would do. It's made a slight indentation in the lacquer right there, which is where I need to drill a hole. So, need a very small drill for this. We call a pilot drill. This is probably about 1mm drill bit. What we're going to do is just make a very, very shallow hole into there to accommodate that little pip on the back of the string tray. Need to be really careful doing this because we don't want to go right the way through the headstock. It's literally going to be, looking at that, probably about 2mm into the headstock. So to stop us from doing anything untoward, and get some of this, just a little piece of tape. What we'll do is take a look at that drill bit for how far down we want it to go, and just put a piece of tape around it, so I know that I can drill down as far as the tape and I'm safe. This isn't going to go right the way through the headstock and do any damage. Okay, so now this is the bit you need to be really, really careful with. This is kind of a, if you like, it's a bit of a destructive process. You can only cut once. So, got the drill set on the slowest possible speed. Get the drill bit vertical into that hole that we marked, and just drill down very slowly. Now we're going into hard wood, but don't force it. Just go in nice and slow. And only go down as far as that piece of tape. Got a nice clean hole there for that pip on the back of the string tray to go into. So back again, screw into that screw hole, tighten the screw a couple of turns, just get a grip, and what I'm going to do is line up the string tray so that little pip's going into that hole, and tighten that screw. Take that down nice and tight, so that's nice and straight, it's lined up because of that hole. It's not going to twist around because there's two things fixing it into the neck, that screw and the little pip on the back, which is fixed into the hole cut on the back of the headstock. So all we need to do now is tune these top two strings back up. We'll get the whole guitar in tune, and we'll see how it plays. So, all tuned up and sounding pretty good. There's still a decent break angle across the nut there, so these two strings ringing out nice and cleanly, but they're not going down as sharp, and the string tree where they're going under, it's a much smoother action, so hopefully that will eliminate the point of friction. Because the important thing with setting up any guitar for keeping the tuning nice and stable is about removing points of friction. It's about making sure the nut slots are free of any grime, keeping them lubricated with a bit of oil or graphite, and having a nice smooth string tree there for the strings to pass underneath. So as you saw there, it's not a difficult little upgrade to do, to change the string trees to something a bit better. If it's something you want to try on your own guitar, hopefully that's giving you the confidence. You know, all you need is a little screwdriver, in my case a little drill, and 5 or 10 minutes out of your day, and you can get your guitar improved. Just that other little thing you can do to help keep it in tune and keep it nice and healthy. Okay, hope you found that useful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video soon. Bye for now.